everybody, welcome back to our Walking Dead reviews. This week we are doing Fear the Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 15, I Lose People. With me as always is Jason.
Call it what you want to call it. I'm a fucking alcoholic.
Don't worry, he's not actually an alcoholic, though.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, he's a little young yet. Give him some time. Maybe he'll develop that. Sounds like it's a goal. Is that on the bucket list? Alcoholism?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
behind meth addiction. You know?
Maybe if you had some of that wonderful Jimbo beer bows, though. I hear that's really good.
Apparently. Yeah. It's worth dying for.
I don't like that name. They're absolutely right. It's a bad name. But all right. So yeah, the quick overview. Your feels on this episode.
I enjoyed it. You know, it was better than last week's episode, but again, that's not exactly a high bar to set.
No. I watched some ants carry along some leaves back to their little home the other day, and that was better than last week's episode. That was more interesting. Yeah, I'm with you there. This was fine. It was good fare. I don't really have anything exceptional to say about it, though. I have some issues with it, but overall, it felt like one of those episodes that was done as well as it could have been done, but it was an episode that kind of needed to happen for the sake of plot.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, generally, throughout the season, we've had some really good episodes. We've had some really bad episodes. It seems like the ones that have been the better episodes of the season are ones that are a little bit more self-contained, giving us different aspects of situations that people have had to deal with in zombie apocalypse and such, with a handful of the characters, typically not all of them. This one had everybody, except for Al, who wasn't in there at all. I guess, well, maybe you count her note. Maybe I don't know. You don't count her note, but no, she was not in there at all. But everyone else is in there, and they're all back together. It's all great. One great big happy family. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple things. So Charlie and Alicia, as you saw at the end of last week's episode, come across John and Strand. I appreciated how they ended up getting over there, and rescuing the two of them. They come across Martha, who basically shoots at him a couple times, saying, "I don't need help. Don't help me with nothing," and then passes out, proving that she needs a lot of help. Yeah. What'd you think about all that?
It feels like from last week's episode we went from 0 to 50. You know, like not that I mind. More action and more development, but I think that's the weakness of this season in particular is everything just seems to jump around. Like there's no consistency with the episodes, which is sad.
Yeah, no, that's true. Excuse me. And something that I noticed in this one, I don't know if you caught this or not either. A lot more color in this one, and at very particular and specific times. I think I'm starting to crack the code as to the black and white and when it's around and when it's not and why. We'll see, because I think we're going to find the whole explanation to that next week, and I think by the end of the season, after next week, at the end of next week's episode, we're going to be back in full color. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, I did notice, but I didn't notice any pattern to it per se. Maybe that's just because my mind's not as analytical as yours.
Well, and that's also, I'm sure, partially because this episode's been the season's been kind of shit. So that'll throw it off too. Yeah, but there was definitely a lot more color in this one. I'll talk about my whole theory of that when we do the whole, because that's something that's been kind of a series or a season long story. So I'll talk about that at next week's episode and season review. But yeah, a lot more color. Do you feel any better about Martha?
No, she still seems. I don't get where she's supposed to fit in. Yeah, I get like she's supposed to be, I guess, the bad guy for this season, but like we haven't really had a true villain. And,
not.
They were just.
That's because we were getting a true villain at the end of last season with the whole cartel, and then they just magically disappeared.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, here's what bugs me about her. I mean, she seems invincible. You know what I mean? Despite the fact that she got shot, I'm a little surprised that, well, one, she got shot with a shotgun. So I'm a little upset that that whole shoulder is generally as solid as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what, unless it's a really shit shotgun. You're not even killing walkers with that thing with headshots. Generally, a normal shotgun will take most of that shoulder with it and just basically obliterate it with pellets. But she's like, oh, you'll see, he'll get it. When she's captured, she's bleeding, she's dying, she just passed out, but she's sitting there captured in the SWAT van with just all the confidence in the world that her plan's going to come to fruition. It's just, it bothers me because it's way too cheesy. I think it's just, it's like classic villains. It's like, this is not classic villains. This is The Walking Dead. And one of the things that they've done really well is that their villains have been really interesting, different. Although people definitely see narrative similarities between Governor and Negan, they are very different characters. The villains have been really great. This villain sucks.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And, if I'm a 30s or 40s year old who's dealing with PTSD and having a lot of problems, and I've just passed out and found myself captured, what I'm not thinking right now is, this is all part of the plan. I got him right where I want him. What?
No, not at all.
I am not. The premise initially of this whole thing with the whole trucker thing and Martha, and it was interesting, but the delivery on this is just shit. I really, and it looks like the next final episode is going to be the whole payoff. So I don't know. Maybe they can round this all up and make something good out of it. I don't think they will. We'll see though. You had the whole thing with Jim. Jim died, jumped off the hospital roof. The whole thing with him and Sarah with the recipe. I thought that was interesting. Something that I think universally, even narcissistic assholes like Jim, but something that we all kind of fall into is a legacy. And I thought that was an interesting scenario with the whole thing with his beer and passing along the recipe and passing along part of yourself and your legacy through that. I thought that was really interesting. And as an artist myself, although not in artistry in beer, but as an artist myself, I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah, I think that's sort of something universal to humans, We all want to leave something behind,
Yeah.
In a way, when we leave a legacy, we leave a piece of ourselves, We leave our mark on history.
I think it was intentional. I'm not totally sure. I don't give the show that credit anymore. But I think it was intentional. I love the fact of how Jim was kind of following, even though he refused to help Morgan and refused to help in anything, he still, even though he's in pain and is losing strength and losing his life, he still managed to have enough energy and enough life to follow Morgan around like a fucking ghost and taunt him the whole time. I thought that was great.
Oh, yeah. It goes back to, I think revenge is probably one of the strongest motivations out there.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of that. I thought that was pretty good. On the flip side of that, though, you had the scenario where everybody comes back and they're there to help Morgan, and it's like this whole thing. I just thought, getting back to it, I thought that was really cheesy, and I don't mind the fact that they came back to get him, but now all of a sudden everyone's got a walkie-talkie where there was only a handful of them before, and they're all saying this nice inspirational stuff. We followed what you said, Morgan, but you know what? You were wrong. We're here to say... It's like... And I know the show needs to have moments like this, and I don't want to get down on having moments like that, because I think you actually need it. There's not a lot of them, but really, I thought the delivery on this one was pretty bad. They're still treating this group like they're a group of people who have been together for a while. You're not. Most of you have not known each other for a day. Most of these people, in some situations, had not even met each other before.
Yeah.
And, it's... I'm just like, come on. It's all about Morgan now, guys. We gotta save Morgan. His bad decisions really did put you guys in a pretty bad place, and and that's not just with the hospital, but that's some other situations in the past. And I mean, obviously, they've got to come to some scenario where they save Morgan, because he's the number one guy on the show now. Because all the other guys are dead. Madison's dead, and Nick is dead. So who else is going to be? But I just thought that it was a poor delivery on this. I think they could have done a lot better in that whole situation. I think one of the things that really bugged me about it, and again, this is something that we've seen for the sake of Morgan. We see other characters in other situations get second billing when they should get top billing, and that's the situation with June and John. And the fact that they finally got reunited, and we had a little bit of the thing on the walkie-talkie, but did we actually get to see those two reunited?
No, not really.
No.
It's sort of cut,
It happened off camera. That's been one of the bigger storylines. But because they gotta waste a bunch of stuff for Morgan, we don't even get to see that. We get to see a little bit of something when they finally talked on the walkie-talkies, and then they're holding hands. June grabs his hand at the end of the episode, and those are nice moments. And I'm not saying those shouldn't have happened. But really, you're just going to bypass the June John moment, which is probably one of the best things going on in the season.
Yeah.
Just pass it by, so you can have a dramatic moment for Morgan.
Yep, I get you.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
Yeah, that's disappointing. I don't like the Al's not in there because Al's my new favorite character. But no Al. Although I think that build up, if they do it correctly, could be really interesting to see where she actually is. We're going to find out, obviously, season final next week, and the scenario that happens with all that. No Al though, a little disappointing, but it was nice to finally have the group all together. But. Yeah, I was just going to lead to something I wasn't all that big of a fan of. Pros and cons of this. I do like the fact that they'll have things where they take the elevator finally back down and the hallway's clear. And I think that's interesting and that's appropriate because I think there could be something else that happens that could just distract the walkers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I thought it was kind of weird because yes, I understand that they just Morgan throws the dead body, they set off the car alarm. And so all the walkers are distracted by that. But are they going to be distracted by a sound when they've got people right in front of them?
Yeah, well, and I think that kind of comes back down to we don't really know a whole lot about how the walkers work. Like, are they mostly visual? Are they mostly auditory?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would have to think they're mostly auditory because eyes will deteriorate and stop working over time, especially when you're freaking dead.
But so will ears.
Well, yeah, but ears are a more passive sensory. And, and you may know more about this than I do. As far as I know, neither one of us are experts when it comes to how ears work. But, I mean, that is a very passive ability to use, which is your hearing. I mean, you're just, sounds are going to happen, you're going to pick it up. While you can become distracted, I think something as simple as a walker. But if you have a bunch of people, you have food in front of you. I don't know. I'm not faulting them for it, but I thought it was a little weird. Because they all start walking over to the noise, and I get it. It's an obvious distraction. And I'm thinking about times when they've used it in the past, like going all the way back to season 1 of the main show when Glenn drives by with the car alarm. But as far as I know, they didn't actually have people in front of them at that point. Do you know which part I'm talking about when they're in front of the department store?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I just can't remember if there were people in front of the walkers or not.
I don't think there was at the moment. I mean, they would run by them at times, but I don't think at that moment there were actual people in front. I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird. It's like I understand the walkers are easily distracted, but at the same time, there's food right in front of them.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little weird. We see how walkers work change a little bit. Like, for example, when the car alarm stops because the battery didn't have hardly any juice left in it, and then they just start going back to where they were. Why? That's going over to that area was ping them. And I understand the alarm has stopped, but why would they go anywhere else at this point?
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. I didn't put that much thought into it before, but yeah.
Well, and the show has tried to be consistent, but it does use the rules rather loosely at times. But I just thought the whole scenario was kind of odd. They've never really delved too much into it. I think the most they've gotten into stuff like that was, we talked about this before, was with Michonne's walkers, and the fact that they can't eat, they can't claw, so they just don't care anymore. I thought that was interesting. We've not delved into that too much. I think the most we've actually delved into how walkers work was how the bites work.
Yeah.
But I think there was some scenario with that where we were really taking a look at that. Yeah, but kind of iffy with it. What do you think overall, that whole scenario with them coming back to get Morgan, and just how the walkers work and stuff like that?
I don't know. Like, on the surface, it seems to make sense, but, when you look more deep into it, like you and I have been doing now, like stuff that I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Now that you bring it up, makes less sense to me. Yeah.
I don't know. I think, again, we are talking about reanimated bodies and corpses, so I think, you get a little leeway. There's a little bit of, you're kind of, you're already suspending reality a little bit as it is, obviously. So, but yeah, after combined 13 seasons of two shows, you'd think that they'd have this kind of nailed down by now. It is what it is. Minor gripe more than anything. Just took longer of an explanation than I would have liked to have given it.
Yeah. I feel you.
Anything else to cover on this one? Oh, yeah, we talked about this before the show. And then, how the hell did Martha get out?
Yeah. That was weird.
I mean, there was, did you see what I saw? There was a lot of blood in her place.
There was a lot of blood.
I mean, are we going to, maybe she did something to, I believe she was zip-tied, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe she, I don't know, bit off her own thumb or something, or you know how some people, they can disjoint their thumb in that whole area so they can slide through things, and I don't know, maybe we'll see something in the next episode. We saw her writing on Jim's face at the end, though. I didn't see anything, but it was really dark. It was like, I think it was nighttime at that point, so but she's just escaped, and for the sake of plot, I guess.
You think she's going to become like the Gollum of the Walking Dead universe, just following this group of people around, screeching at them?
No, because I think she's going to be dead by the end of the next episode. I don't really know how they're going to do this, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be dead. I don't know. I think she's a plot device to give the cast to do in the second half of the season, and not intended to go any further than that.
Yeah, I understand. I get you.
Yeah. So, anything else to talk about with this week's episode?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything that comes to mind.
So, all right. So let's rate it 1 out of 5 Jimbo's Beer Bows.
Give it a solid 2.5.
2.5. I'm gonna sit there with you. Definitely better than last week, but that's not saying much. What did you guys think? Go ahead and comment below. If you liked our review, please like and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this week's episode, the highs and the lows, and what do you think is going to happen next week? How's the season going to end? Let us know. But until then, I think that's going to do it for now. Jason, any last words?
No, nothing for you this week.
Nothing?
No, I'm wordless.
You're all right. The man is speechless. He is without speech. Walker got his tongue.
There you have it.
There it is. All right, we will be back next week for the episode 16 review and the season review. And I think we're going to have a couple things to talk about on that one.
Yep.
And this has been a season. And that's all I'll say right now.
It's been a lot of ups and downs.
It's been a lot of stuff. And no one will say there's not stuff in this season, that's for sure. All right, but yeah, again, that's going to do it for us. So we will see you next week.
All right, peace.
Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, if there's anything to go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but if great, if you could throw some support, you can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksongmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Yeah, who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find. Maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.